Nowadays, affordable housing is one of the critical priorities of American families. Millions of households struggle to pay the rent, and the situation is getting even worse. According to recent statistics, over 8 million adults in the United States, more than 13% of the adult population, reside in households that charge them rent and are struggling to make payments. Among the states with the highest share of adults behind rent payments are New York, Nevada, and Louisiana, where an average of almost 20% of adult renters live in households behind on rent payments. Given that even the middle class has been severely affected by the issue, in this video we'll talk about why middle-income households can no longer pay rent in the US. But before moving on, we'd appreciate you subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell. That way you will support the production of future videos on America's most important economic topics. Now, let's get back to the topic. As of 2022, around 44 million rental housing units were occupied in the United States. This number has been gradually rising since 2010, which is part of a long-term upward trend since 1975. At the same time, the number of vacant rental housing units has been declining, indicating an increasing demand and a supply that is failing to keep up. The main reason the number of renters is increasing yearly is because housing prices have skyrocketed in recent decades. Let's look at the official data. At the beginning of the 1970s, the average sales price of a house ranged from $26,000 to $28,000. Today, the average sales price of houses sold in the United States is almost 50 times higher, reaching its peak of $550,000 in the fourth quarter of 2022. Although the prices have dropped slightly, in the second quarter of 2023, the average home price was $495,000 American dollars. Unsurprisingly, the middle-class family simply cannot afford to own a house. This chart shows the dynamic of home buyers by generation. The survey, which involved more than 15,000 respondents, revealed that a significant percentage of people who are actively looking to buy a home in the next year are unable to do so due to affordability constraints. Specifically, the survey found that between 36 and 55% of respondents were not able to find a home that could afford as of the second quarter of 2023. Interestingly, the survey found that younger home buyers are struggling more than older generations. Among the respondents, 37% of millennials and 55% of baby boomers struggled to find a home at an acceptable price. Main reasons cited for the decline in home buying were getting outbid by other buyers or the inability to find a home in the desired neighborhood. However, only baby boomers reported other reasons. Looking ahead, the survey found that around 15% of U.S. adults were planning to purchase a home in the next year. This suggests that the demand for affordable housing will likely continue to be high in the near future, driving housing prices even higher. Of course, due to the housing shortage and astronomical prices of buying a house, competition spread on the rental units. According to the State of the Nation's Housing 2023, published by Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies, a record number of American renters are spending at least one-third of their income on rent. The study says that more than 21.6 million households in the U.S. now spend over 30% of their pre-tax income on rent, with some even paying up to 50% of their earnings on apartments. Housing experts advise tenants to spend less than 30% of their income on rent, primarily because the growth of luxury buildings has caused a reduction in affordable options. Over the last 2 decades, the number of high-priced apartments known as Class A has grown more than affordable ones. Moody's Analytics data shows that in 2022, 51% of rental construction projects were luxury apartments. Back in 2000, only 34% of the market consisted of high-cost rental units, but by Q1 2023, that number had increased to 51%. Daniel McHugh, Senior Research Associate at the Joint Center, stated in the 2023 report that housing costs remain well above pre-pandemic levels due to substantial increases over the last few years. In recent times, as we already mentioned, it's not just the lower-income households that are struggling financially. Approximately 23% of Americans earning between $45,000 to $75,000 a year are burdened by the rising cost of living. This percentage is almost double the share recorded in 2001. As a result, middle-class families are also feeling the pressure, especially in urban areas where they're priced out of the housing market. Situation so dire that the homeless population in the United States is on the rise for the first time since the recession ended in 2010. This phenomenon is particularly severe in cities such as San Francisco, where high living costs are pushing many people to the brink of homelessness. Along with home purchasing prices, rental costs also have been surging. As per the latest data from rental listings from Rent, the median rent in the United States surged to $2,029 in June 2021 from $1,629 in the same month of 2019. The increase in rental prices can be attributed to the surging demand for apartments, particularly during the pandemic, as many individuals who could work remotely preferred to find extra space or relocate to other regions of the country. This trend has been particularly noticeable in the 50 largest metropolitan areas of the U.S., which have experienced a significant influx of people seeking affordable housing options, leading to a sharp increase in rental rates across the country. According to an article in Fortune, one way to stabilize rent increases over time is to increase the supply of apartments. This can also provide tenants with more options for where to live. However, a report from Marcus and Millichamp shows that over 40% of new rental units to be completed this year will be concentrated in just 10 high job growth metropolitan areas. These areas include Austin, Nashville, Denver, Atlanta, and New York. While some urban areas will see a notable increase in available apartments, the overall effect on inventory in many areas will be minimal. For instance, in Nashville, where there will be a significant increase in available apartments, most units will be in the luxury category. Nationally, the average rent for luxury apartments is $2,270, and about 70% of the new rental inventory will be in this category. Jay Liebeck, the National Director of Multifamily Analytics at CoStar, confirmed this information. Moreover, the latest report on the Consumer Price Index indicates that the cost of shelter made by 90% of the total inflation rate in the previous month. July monthly shelter costs rose by 0.4%, and they increased by 7.7% compared to the same period last year. Given the dire economic situation, the national problem is that the middle class is stuck with expensive rental houses and apartments and unable to purchase a home due to rising rent. Interestingly, these renters accounted for 3/4 of the overall growth in the U.S. renter population, indicating a shift in the housing preferences of the country's well-to-do citizens. This became an unsolvable dilemma for millions of households as they barely have money to pay the rent, let alone savings for purchasing a home. Lastly, apart from skyrocketing prices on the rental property, the American middle class itself has been shrinking. Although middle-class Americans continue to outnumber any other income group, total income earned by them has been declining over the years. A comparison of the data between 1970 and 2021 indicates that the share of the U.S. aggregate income earned by the middle class has significantly reduced from 62% to just 42%. In contrast, the aggregate earnings by high-income earners have increased from 29% to 50%. Surprisingly, this trend can be observed even though the total number of high-income earners is still less than half the size of the middle class in America. These statistics reveal a growing income inequality in the United States that has continued to widen the gap between the rich and the middle class, which today struggles to pay the rent. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit that like button. Let us know what you think about this subject in the comments section below.